G'day guys, Tools20 here and welcome back to Marble Mountain. In today's episode, I'm going to show you a whole bunch of changes that I've been making to Marble Mountain over the last week. I've been doing it off camera and the changes are quite big, so I'm going to show you all that in a live play in just a second. And I'm also going to talk about a competition I'm running on my Discord server that I think is very fun and the rewards are quite big. So I think you should totally stick around for that. I'll be talking about that in probably about, 3 minutes time. So the biggest change that I've made to Marble Mountain is I have now changed the map theme. And it's made such a big improvement on this map. Originally I was using Aural's Los Angeles map theme and I really love that map theme. I'm also using it for Border Town and it's working perfectly for that one. The only problem with that map theme for this particular project is that I needed to create these grass textures that map theme just doesn't have. You know, that map theme is purely desert and quite dry landscape, whereas I needed a little bit of green. So I ended up switching to Springwood map theme, and you guys know that I am very familiar with that map theme. That's for my other series, and I've just been changing some of the textures around here so we can still continue that dry landscape atmosphere and also achieve that greenness as well that I really needed in Montana and some other regions as well, because all these sort of areas needed to be a little bit greener. I've probably spent about 40 minutes just retexturing Marble Mountain and the different hills that are surrounding Montana, but I'm still in the process of going through and just fixing up some certain other areas, like this part here is a bit of a mess. And, as I will be fixing up some places, there's obviously like some repeated patterns. I literally spent like 10 seconds just plopping that down. I think that this is such a big improvement, and the detail as well, I think is huge. I was never that satisfied with the way this whole area looked. I don't know, it just always felt kind of dirty and a little bit under detailed. And then as soon as I changed map themes, I just think that is just gorgeous. I love this city so much now. It's made such a huge difference. So I'm going to be spending a bit of time just fixing up some certain areas, and ultimately I'm really happy with this change. So obviously that is the biggest change to Marble Mountain. I have also been making small changes to the city of Montana, which I'll also talk about in just a short little bit. But I do want to talk about this competition that I'm running on my Discord server. So you might be able to tell that we have a new district called Competition. And what I would like you guys to do is I would like you to follow the link in the description, which will take you to my Discord server. And in that server, you will find a channel called Competition. And in that channel, you will find the save game to this map, which is the most current version. And what I would like you to do is I would like you to build something in this area. Let's just get that district up. So it's a pretty big district. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to build something that you think would best suit this environment. It could be something similar to this neighborhood. I mean, you could connect this road up to here and drag it along here, and these roads could connect over there, and that road could be over here, or this could go over here. It's totally up to you. Or maybe this doesn't have any roads in it. Maybe you turn it into a zoo or a theme park, or don't turn it into a military base, because I'm definitely not going to choose that. But basically, I will be choosing the build that I think best suits this environment. Maybe the best detailed, or maybe the one that requires the least amount of props. I'll be choosing the best one to then fit into this area, and using Move It, because Move It's got this really great feature where you can basically export. Yeah, you can basically just choose selection and then press export, and then you can export exactly that. And you guys will be able to export it to me and then send it off. And the winner will have their creation in Marble Mountain forever. And not only that, I will also be giving you a City Skylines DLC key, which has been very kindly sponsored by Paradox Interactive. So massive thanks to those guys. And that's pretty much the competition. It's pretty straightforward. Build in that area. If you win, your build will be put into Marble Mountain. I'm really looking forward to seeing your entries, and if you have any questions, or there'll be way more information on that channel. I've given you barely any information right now, so go and check out the link in the description for more information. Alright, let's talk about some of the other things that I've been changing. I've changed quite a lot. I have changed the skyline a little bit. There was a skyscraper that sat, I think, there, and another one that sat here, and they were massive, and I just got rid of them because they were just a little bit too big for the city, so I think that's probably better suited. Plus, Montana's kind of a city that you're looking kind of far away from. You don't really want it just to be this massive skyscraper city, and I think that probably fits in a lot better. I do also want to change this guy here. I love this asset so much. I think it's one of my favorite looking buildings close up, but as soon as I start scrolling away from it, it just starts glitching out. So I think I might change that one too. And I've also been extending out quite a lot of the suburbs. So all this is brand new. I've been extending out all these areas. This is new, and this portion over here is all brand new too. I've also added in just tiny little bits of pieces. And most of them aren't to stay. That's not to stay. That's not to stay. Like, all of them are just there because I really wanted a more complete picture of Montana. I was kind of going a little bit crazy with how I was looking. I felt like I was making no progress. Now I feel like we've made huge amounts of progress. So I'm way more pleased with how the city is starting to turn out. And what else have I changed? I've changed one more thing. I've unsubscribed from Network Skins mod, and as much as I love that mod, it has just changed the frame rate so much. Like, the frame rate is so buttery smooth. It's great. So that's another change that I've made. And I'm also now running Remove Vanilla Trees mod, and that's just cleaned up the city quite a lot. So just a few changes that I've created, and it's just made a huge difference. I think the city is looking far better than what it was looking before. Okay, that's so much rambling. That's about 8 minutes of rambling. What are we doing today? So in the last episode, we built these walls, and they're under details. There's nothing going on with them. And in today's episode, I'm going to work on these and really detail mostly these areas here, and probably this section too. And off camera, I've also just placed down this light rail line that goes all the way through this medium, and it's going to be great. As soon as you start placing down some stations and connecting it up to other parts of the network, man, it's going to be so sweet. And because the game just runs so smoothly in Montana, it just makes me want to play it just more and more, because I can actually see the simulation. I can see everything running just so crystal clear. It's awesome. Alright, I'm going to get into a time lapse and we'll get work on this whole area. So the first thing we're going to be working on is, I wanted to work on this commercial area around the wharves. And what I was sort of thinking is, I wanted it to have a bit of a touristy feel to it. So a lot of cafes, a lot of restaurants, and maybe like some places for souvenirs, and really just targeted at people who I guess are tourists, or people who are just coming for like a stroll or something like that. And I'm so pleased with how this whole area turned out. I really was kind of, I have built something similar in Springwood when I worked on the pier in Santa Clara. I was going to say Santa Monica. And so I had a bit of an idea of what I was going to do, but yeah, it's a lot harder working with just vanilla assets, but I think I was able to achieve that look pretty well. And I spoke about in the last episode how these wharves were, I guess, once industry buildings, and they were pumping industry and cargo into the heart of the city. However, as the city has changed over time and has expanded, the industry has moved out of town, and it is no longer, these wharves are no longer used for getting cargo into the downtown. So probably at one stage in their life, these buildings would have been abandoned and just sitting there to rot. And they have now like recently, or probably not recently, but have now been transformed into these like commercial hubs. And I think like if I had more assets to use, I would have probably turned these into, well, at least the buildings into some sort of residential area. But, you know, just given what they are and what I can actually use, I just decided to leave them as pretty much an industry. And I guess they probably do serve still a purpose of industry. And I guess technically in the game, they are still pumping industry into the city, which is actually quite helpful. But, you know, I guess in the story of Montana, it's they're probably serving some sort of different purpose. And actually, while I'm speaking about the story of Montana, if anyone's interested in working on a wiki that will, you know, I guess hold the stories of this whole region of Marble Mountain, then hit me up. Like, you can contact me on Discord or on Instagram or on Twitter. They're the best places to get in touch with me. We have an awesome wiki for Springwood, and I think Marble Mountain is just asking for an awesome wiki as well, because I'm going to be working on this series for a really long time. What I want to achieve in this series is huge, and I don't see it disappearing in the next year or so. This is one of those series that I really work on for a long period of time. And like I said in the last episode, this is a series that I'm going to be doing most of my streaming in, because it just works so nicely. So if you're interested in getting the ball rolling with that, hit me up and I'll be in touch. I will still use the same platform, so the same platform that the Springwood wiki is on, because I think that platform is really quite amazing. And I think a lot of people are starting to put their own cities onto that page. So you should actually go and check that whole thing out. I'm going to leave a link to Springwood's wiki, and that'll also link to other people's cities wikis. And what I've been working on is I've just been working on the Shopfront, and basically what I've been doing to create that is just placing down any sort of building or any sort of commercial area building that I think would best suit that area. I place it on the road and then use Move It to drag it along, and by doing that, it just means that I can just splice it together with those industry buildings, which works really nicely. And I think the really cool thing about that too is it still is functional as a commercial district, so it's not just purely aesthetic. And I think that is the really great thing about this build, is that this whole area works exactly how it should work. So it is actually a touristic area. There are people coming here specifically just to visit and shop and to check out some of the unique buildings. So that is really brilliant. And you also saw me then create this whole area into a park, which I haven't really properly named yet. I think I named it Montana Boardwalk, which is not very creative. So if you've got a better name for that, then maybe leave it in the comments below. We might change in the next episodes. And now I'm just working on trying to figure out how to turn it into a park and where to have the proper opening. So this whole area has been really quite tricky to create, because I am using these boardwalk walkways, and these walkways are a raised walkway, so they're not really connected to the roads. However, people are still walking along them, which is crazy. But unfortunately, I probably couldn't really get as many people walking along this area as I anticipated. I think I need to change a couple of the policies. I might need to make the park free entry, or need to sort of improve maybe some of the policies that sit around here, so more and more people are visiting this area. But don't get me wrong, there's still quite a lot of people here, but I would love to see a few more. So if you've got any tips, then just hit me up and I'll implement them probably in the next few episodes. But now I'm just adding in some details by just placing down a couple of these just props that are mostly to do with the amusement park. And I'm just using Find It just to scroll through and pretty much find anything that I think best suits this whole area. It was so easy to detail, because it's pretty much all you need to do is just cram it full of different items and it starts to pop and come to life. And I really think that probably the thing that changed this whole area the most was placing down the lights. and that just changed everything. I think that's when it really started to come into life, and I think it's gonna be really awesome when we see more and more people walking along too, which would be yeah, pretty exciting. And all those people who are interested in entering into the competition, I'm really excited to see your builds. I would love to see as many builds as possible. If you want to, you can enter in as much as you like. So if you, I forgot to mention that before, but if you have like 3 builds in mind, then hit me up and shoot me through this screenshot so we can see them. I'll leave all that information in the Discord server. There'll be a competition channel, so all that will be just be sitting in there. And if you have any questions, that'd be the best place to ask me too, so that way you can see if that question's already been answered. But pretty much in a nutshell, just build something there and send some screenshots through and post them to that channel, and we'll have a look at them, and I'll choose the one that I think fits the best. And like I said, I'm not after like the most detailed area. I mean, go nuts if you want to go full detail, but I'm mostly after something that's realistic and fits in with the general area. And that whole area is quite an affluent area. It is also quite close to the train line, so maybe that's a sort of area that has some higher density buildings. Maybe that's a bit more of a commercial area, or maybe that's where some industry sits. It's pretty much totally up to you guys. I mean, whatever fits in that area, go for it. And yeah, I really just can't wait to see what you guys end up building. So something that I've added to my collection is I've ended up subscribing to these vanilla boats pack. Basically, somebody uploaded a pack. This is like a really old asset that was uploaded to the Steam Workshop, I think back in like 2015. I can't remember the exact date, but it's an old asset. I've been subscribed to this for a really long time in Springwood, but I decided to grab this asset pack for Marble Mountain because these are vanilla boats, and I feel like they add a lot to this whole area. And I know that I'm trying to stay pretty clear of downloading more and more assets and mods. I'm still being quite strict with that. Quite often I'm on the workshop and thinking to myself, I'm just gonna download this one, and I just go, no, don't do it. That's not what the series is about. But I couldn't help myself with these boats. I think that they add a lot to this area, and I think they add a lot of atmosphere because it just adds more detail on the river, and I think that was really needed. And they're quite versatile because I'm going to be placing them down in like all around this whole region. You know, everywhere there is water and people, I think I'll be placing down these boats. Alright, I've got to talk about what I'm doing right now because it's so bloody awesome. I've pulled this move out in Bordertown before, where I dragged a pedestrian, I think it was a pedestrian road through another road just to create a different texture, and I'm doing the same thing here. And what I've done is I've grabbed the amusement footpath and I've just dragged it pretty much over the same area where the light rail is going, and then I've used move it to align it to the same height as the road underneath it, and then I've just raised it just slightly so that it sits over the top. And you can still, I think the really great thing about this is that you can still see the light rail lines peeking through, so it hasn't hidden those lines at all. But what it's done is just created a different texture underneath it, and this isn't going to be done everywhere for the light rail. This is just done in this one particular area because I wanted this area to have a much nicer look to it. I wanted there to be as if like a lot of money was pumped into this particular place, because this is, you know, the shorefront of Montana, and there's a lot of tourists that are going to be sitting around this place and checking it out. So I wanted there to be a real niceness to this particular spot. I love how it turned out, and wait for the cinematics which are coming up. I think they really show off how that looks. And what I am doing now, this is pretty exciting. We are crossing the river once again, and I am building this bridge that I plan to also have another light rail going across it. It fits in really nicely, to be honest. It's really close to, well, actually it connects up to where the existing light rail already is, so I don't really need to change too much of the existing structure of the light rail. I can just pretty much continue dragging that along. And the light rail isn't like nothing's set in stone for light rail at the moment. I'm still figuring out the general idea of where it goes. And particularly because I'm still building the city and all the roads and figuring out where suburbs go and where some of the main attractions go, the light rail won't actually have its proper network until we know exactly how Montana is going to be taking shape. And now I'm building this marketplace, and I'm using this asset that I've never seen before. I didn't even know it existed, and yeah, it's pretty cool actually. It's must have been released around Christmas time, because it's got a Christmas tree in the middle of it. But I thought that this would be a cool addition to this area because, this is quite a gentrified area. This is an area that, a lot of people are just coming to, most probably on the weekends. And I thought that this would be a cool area to have a marketplace that was like a farmer's market, or, like an organic fruit and veg market. And I think that fits in really nicely with the story and the scope of this project of Marble Mountain, where we're going to be connecting up a lot of the areas within this city and within this whole region. So, eventually when we start building some of the farmlands, you can kind of imagine that the farm products were going to come to this particular area. So I ended up putting down a warehouse right next to it that I'm going to be changing to have like produce and like farming sort of stuff in it. And I'll probably end up placing down a factory too that will focus around that sort of thing too. So this whole idea of everything in this whole region being interconnected is slowly starting to take shape. I know that I'm not quite as good at as releasing videos every week. I've got so many series at the moment, and I'm only going to keep on adding them because who knows? You guys know that I can't stop starting new series. I start more series than I finish them, but I'd rather do that than the opposite. This path turned out pretty cool. People use it really, they use it so much, and you'll see all that in the cinematics, which are just around the corner. And the last little thing that I wanted to build is just this little space. I wanted to have a bit of a nice looking apartment complex that's I had to change the direction of these windows because I feel like they should face towards the ocean and the bridge. I think these are probably one of the nicest apartment blocks that sit in Montana at the moment. But that's pretty much it for today's episode. This is probably one of my favorite episodes I have created in Marble Mountain. I am so happy with how everything is turning out and the shape of Montana. I really can start seeing the finished product. Not that we're finished, but I've always liked seeing more of a complete city than, the early stages of a city. But we're getting there. We're really, really getting there. If you have enjoyed this episode, just leaving some nice feedback really supports me a lot. Even if that's just rating up this video, that just helps out a hell of a lot. So thanks to everybody who does that. You should totally go and click on the link in the description and enter into the competition. It's going to be super easy to do, and I think it'll be so cool to see the variety of different builds that you guys are going to be doing. And the prize is pretty cool to have your build into the city and also a DLC, which is a pretty nice prize. And yeah, can't wait to see you guys there. If you have any questions, hit me up. Alright, that's it. Guys, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. See you later.